military-grade nerve agent, though President Trump says he hasn't seen proof. And Charles Maynes in Moscow reports Russia is trying to flip blame for the poisoning.
Russia's foreign ministry said it had seen presumptuous comments from Western countries that a toxic nerve agent called Novichok had been produced in Russia, but the statement countered it with rather Western nations, including the U.S., that had sophisticated chemical weapons programs. German toxicologists identified Novichok, the Soviet-era nerve agent, as the reason Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny suddenly fell ill during a trip to Siberia last month. NATO and European powers have demanded an international investigation, while President Trump has hewed closer to Russia's position and saying he had not yet seen proof Navalny was poisoned. Navalny is currently in a Berlin hospital where he remains in an artificially induced coma. For NPR News, I'm Charles Maynes in Moscow.
This is NPR. The state of California and much of Arizona are in the grips of a dangerous heat wave. In some areas, temperatures are forecast to be up to 25 degrees above normal. Conservationists in Zimbabwe are battling the government's plan there to allow 2 Chinese companies to mine for coal in the country's largest wildlife park. From the capital, Harare, Ishma Fundikwa reports the park is home to one of Africa's largest elephant populations, as well as other big animals that make it a major tourist destination.
The Hwange National Park is the size of Belgium. Environmentalists argue mining inside the park would threaten biodiversity and increase human-wildlife conflict. The Minister of Tourism and Environment, Mangaliso Ndlovu, says there are discussions within the government over the mine's establishment.
The discussions are around making sure that we preserve the pristine standing of our national park.
The Center for Natural Resource Governance Zimbabwe also says some Chinese mining companies do not carry out proper environmental impact assessments, resulting in the environment, animals, and local people being subjected to environmental hazards. For NPR News, I am Ishma Fundikwa in Harare.
Horse racing's Kentucky Derby is being held this afternoon without spectators. Outside Churchill Downs Racetrack, racial justice demonstrators are planning to rally. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and the ECMC Foundation, working to improve post-secondary educational outcomes for underserved students through evidence-based innovation. Learn more at ecmcfoundation.org.
This is Mill Street Radio from PRX. I'm your host, Christopher Kimball.
There's a lot of magic in Puerto Rico. I talk a few times in Coconuts and Collards about coquis, who are these tiny little frogs that are all over the island, and they make this very sweet little coquis sound. You know, kind of the soundtrack of Puerto Rico at night are these little musical frogs making this very sweet sound.
Juan Diaz grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and spent summers with a grandmother in the suburbs of San Juan. Today, Diaz and I chat about what to order at a roadside kiosco, garlic sauce done right, and the story behind the world's best homemade breakfast sandwich. Before we get to the cooking in Puerto Rico, I chat with Molly Ye. Ye spent most of her life in big cities, from Chicago to New York. In 2013, she moved to her husband's beet farm in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. Ye's TV show, Girl Meets Farm, debuted on the Food Network in June 2018. Molly, how are you?
I'm great, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. So, Jewish, Chinese, Midwest. Brisket meets Sichuan meets hot dish. I've seen a lot of mashups in my time. This is one of the more interesting ones. You live in Grand Forks, that you describe as the North Pole sometimes. So, when you mess with their hot dishes, what's the reaction?
Some people get excited that these hot dishes that they grew up with are gaining new life. Other people are like, well, that's not how my mom used to make it, so it's kind of messing with tradition. But most people seem pretty open to it, and it's just been a ton of fun because hot dish is the best thing when you live in the North Pole. And so to be able to kind of take the hot dish equation, which is a protein plus a cream soup plus a starch plus a vegetable, and then make it using ingredients that are trendy these days and techniques that kind of eliminate the use of a canned cream soup or frozen or canned vegetables. It's so much fun, and I just love it. I can't believe that I went for so long not knowing what a hot dish was.
But your cooking is pretty sophisticated. I mean, zoug, tahini sauce, hummus, but you also talk about which tater tots to use in your hot dish. So the range is from tater tots to really good hummus. That's a pretty, that's a long way from the Middle East to the North Pole.
Well, I mean, if I want hummus, or if I have a bagel craving, or a matzo ball craving, or a shakshuka craving, there are so many delicious Middle Eastern restaurants in bigger cities that I just don't have here. And even something as simple as pizza delivery we don't have.
Wait, everybody's got pizza. No?
Oh, I mean, we have an amazing, adorable pizza parlor in town, but we live right outside the realm of pizza delivery. So if I'm starving on a Friday night and there's a snowstorm, I've got to make it myself.
So let's go back in time. You went to Juilliard for percussion, one of, I think, 2 people who were accepted in that department. Percussion, as you describe it, is you stand around and then, you hit something 3 times. Why percussion, and how are you taught percussion? I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very musical household. My dad plays the clarinet, and there was never one day where I thought I would like to be a percussionist. It was just always kind of known. I loved the fact that there were so many different instruments and so many things to do, and the amount of sounds that you can make with percussion are endless. My senior year of Juilliard, I played a piece on my senior recital that was hitting my own body. It was called Corporelle, and you tap your face and you scratch yourself and you make sounds with your mouth. But it was actually really hard to get some good consistent sounds of skin on skin, and so it's a lot of just kind of sitting in a room and hitting things in different ways and figuring out what sounds the best.
So you're now on a 5th generation farm. Your husband's, Nick's family came from Norway. Sugar beet farming, and you refer to this, it was interesting, you refer to this mud-scented and romantic. I get the mud-scented part, but is sugar beet farming romantic?